Okay. All right. Well, happy Friday, everyone. And it's Mother's Day this weekend. I hope you all have, well, I know this is not the case for everybody, but I do hope you have good relationships with your mother. And if you do, be sure you call home and wish her a happy Mother's Day. Anyway, I enjoyed meeting with all of the different groups yesterday, and some of the groups had very kind of interesting data sets and project proposals and things like that. I hope I wasn't too harsh with any of the groups. Some of the groups do need to kind of refine their the questions that they're going to be asking. And perhaps might need to find additional data or change the kinds of questions that they're going to be asking with the available data. And so a couple of the groups, I think you guys know who you are. When you are ready, please schedule a follow-up meeting. And then for everybody, so now that you have some data that you're working with, start your exploration, ask questions, see if you could find some answers or at least hints towards those answers. And, that might uncover additional questions and keep exploring. Don't hesitate to come to me during office hours or to ask questions about, whatever it is that you're trying to do. So if you're saying here's the data we have this question, this is what we're trying to do, and is it possible to answer with this data, and if so, how we go about doing that. I'm happy to offer kind of my my knowledge and experience. I do have, I like to think I have a decent amount of experience with analyzing and looking at data and being able to kind of slice or manipulate it to try to get at questions that you are asking. So don't hesitate to use me as a resource. Use your TA as a resource as well. The goal of this project is for you to kind of experience the excitement, but also the very real frustrating aspects of working with a real data set. Okay, there are aspects where it's like, oh man, this is kind of tough, and that's something that I think can only be experienced with real data, and it's harder to do with like a simulated type of thing. So anyway, my hope is you gain some of that experience there. I've posted a example project that you can take a look at along with my comments. I have another example project that I want to post, but I'm trying to work out all of the comments I'm going to say on that. And then I will also, in the coming days, post a kind of a full rubric regarding the final project and what's how I will be grading that as well. Okay. Today, I thought we would do another kind of demonstration of some techniques that might be useful. And so, and I think this could be definitely relevant to some of the groups because your data sets are not too dissimilar. Like some groups are kind of similar to this data set that I have here. So this is a data set from Kaggle, and it's on Netflix TV shows and movies, and I guess they scoured the Netflix catalog. It's a few years old now, from July 2022, and they downloaded information about some of the different things that you could watch on Netflix in July 2022. And so Netflix has a mix of movies and TV shows and a whole bunch of different titles that are available, right? Okay, so this is just some of the examples. And so let me kind of zoom in. This is the information that's contained. Dear, let me at least freeze the top row. Okay, so we have information about the title of the thing. The type is it a movie or a show? The description is a bunch of text. So it'll be like, this collection includes 12 World War II era propaganda films, and Taxi Driver is a mentally unstable Vietnam War veteran, stuff like that. The release year is, when it was, I guess, released for the first time. And we, this includes stuff up through, I guess, stuff released in 2022, because that was when the data set was collected. There's 5,800 rows, okay, 5,800. Some of these things have ratings and age certificates. So for shows, you have like things like TVG and TVPG. For movies, you have R and PG-13 and things like that. Runtime in minutes. Genres is a text thing that includes different things. So you have drama, so Taxi Driver is considered a drama and crime movie. You have Deliverance, drama, action, thriller, European. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, I think. Fantasy, action, comedy. Okay, production country, I guess. Which country? So US, GB for Great Britain. What is EG? Oh, Egypt. DE for Germany. I don't know. Okay, so something. IMDb, I guess if you want to tie things to IMDb. They also have IMDb score, IMDb number of votes, TMDB, so that's a different database, and TMDB score. So there are a couple. So there's IMDb, which I think is more famous. That's the Internet Movie Database. And then TMDB is just called the Movie Database. And these are both kind of websites that have a bunch of movies and ratings and information about them. And so, some of these things are similar, like the IMDb score and the TMDB score. And certainly you can do an analysis here. You can just do a comparison. Is there correlation between the IMDb score and the TMDB score? And almost certainly, yes, we will see strong correlation. But yeah, we have some outliers. There's some TMDB movies where TMDB scores are 10s. Probably these are unstable because TMDB is not as popular as IMDb. So there might be a bunch of movies with 1 rating. And if one person really liked it and gave it a 10, that will show up here. Okay, similar things with the 2s and the 1s and stuff like that. So anyway, probably need to be filtered out. But overall, some general correlation, but there's still quite a bit of skew there. But beyond these numeric columns, which allow for kind of a lot of analysis, and we've done examples where we took the numeric column and we grouped them by this and we compared them. I wanted to focus on what if you have a column where you have a fair amount of text and you kind of want to work with this. So, in my discussions yesterday with different groups, some of your data sets had columns that I think are rich in information, but have text and, could be a little bit harder to work with, okay? So that's that, and so I want to do that. Also, we can look at release year. Some of you have columns where it's not the year, but it's the date. And to go from, you have tools in R, like Lubridate, where you can put in a date object. Or first you're going to have to take the string, make it a date object by using something like, DMY or MDY for month, day, year, if the string is in that format. And then once you have the date, you can then call just year, and it will extract the year out of that date object. Okay, so just look up, functions in Lubridate. A big aspect if you haven't figured out in this class is, I can't teach you everything. So you're going to have to look up how to do certain functions and certain things on your own. I'm trying to just show kind of a slice of some of the things that are possible, so you can start like going, to encourage your imagination as far as things you want to do. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at this data. I have posted it on Canvas under this week's module, so you can get the code that I'm following through along with the CSV file that I'm working with. Okay. All right, so we'll load up our tidyverse. We'll read in our data set, okay, and I always like to just take a look at it just to kind of make sure. And as far as the titles here, the column names, like this is in like the form that we like. We don't need to use janitor to clean up the column names. They're all lowercase. There's no spaces. They use underscores. So this is great. We loaded it in. It looks pretty good. So we'll just go ahead and dig right in. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just start doing some visualizations to explore. Okay, and so the first thing is I was going to just take the release year, and I just wanted to do a histogram on the release year. Okay, so for this, I'm doing titles, ggplot. Along the x-axis, we're going to put release year. And then I could just start off with geom histogram. And then everything else that you see here are just things that I added to kind of make it a little prettier, okay? But, in the beginning, I just started off with this as my histogram, and I just said, okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and change my bin width. I'm going to make it a little bit narrower. I'm going to just add, change some of the colors. And then we'll also add some labels to the X and Y axis. And so, so this is my resulting histogram. What do I do with this? Maybe I'll turn off the, okay. So we can see as far as Netflix goes, there's a lot of kind of, their catalog has a lot more like recent stuff and not a ton of like old stuff, which makes sense, right? Because if you're a company and you want your product to be popular, most people are probably more interested in watching stuff that was produced recently versus a whole bunch of like old movies, right? Only like the classics and the popular ones, survive long age. Okay, so anyway, we have that vast majority of movies and shows come after, say, 2010, which is right here. And so, we could see, all right, is there a big difference between movies and TV shows? So I'm taking, I'm going to do a facet grid based on what do you call it? Whether it was a movie or a TV show. Okay. So here, do this. So I have again release year, and I can do a bar plot or a histogram really, and so here as far as movies and shows, we can see okay, there seems to be more movies than shows. The height here goes up to 500 and this goes up to 300 something. As far as the distribution goes, there seems to be, it's kind of hard to tell, maybe a bit of a longer tail for the movies than the shows, okay? So, this is like 1990, okay? And so it's like, yeah, there might be a handful of movies from 1990. There's hardly any shows from 1990, okay? And I think that aligns with kind of our media memory as well. If I say, hey, name some movies or name some shows from like a decade in the past, you'd probably have an easier time naming some of the movies. They seem to have a little bit of longer, like, longevity in, I don't know, our pop culture thing than TV shows, right? There's only like a handful of shows that we can remember from like super long ago. But like certain movies, like, they seem to last a long time. Okay, but this is a facet where I did movie and show split that way. We can also do facet grid using columns. And so it's the exact same code. All I did was I just changed from rows to columns. And it looks like this. And it keeps getting smaller and smaller. And then, so this really emphasizes how different the heights are in each of these things. Although now the comparison between years is a little bit tougher because now they're not on the same axis here. But now we can see, yeah, indeed, number of titles much higher for movies than it is for shows. Okay, that's fine. What we can also do is we don't have to do a facet grid. We can put movies and shows in the same plot. And so here, in order to do that, I'm going to do position equals dodge. And then we're going to color, change the fill color of our bars based on the type of movie. So, or type of media. So movies will have one color and shows will have a different color. And so, so we can do this. And this is our thing. And so, yeah, we can indeed see, everything is, more movies than shows, pretty much across the board. Maybe in 2022, the number of movies and shows is like similar in count, but everywhere else, definitely more movies than shows. Okay, so that's one thing to look at. Yeah, consistently across the years, there are more movies than shows, very few shows. Prior to 1990, we might be interested, okay, if you look at this again, I'm always interested in, like, what are the exceptions, right? What are these? There are hardly any shows that came out before 1990 or that are in the Netflix catalog. And so I'm curious, like, what are these shows that were released before 1990? So just kind of taking a closer look at those things, we can do filter, type as show, release year before 1990, and then let's just kind of take a look at what we have. So I said, let's look at the title, release year, and the genre, and we get Monty Python. So I guess that's popular or something. Danger Mouse, Knight Rider, Wheel of Fortune, Fireman Sam, Thomas and Friends. Okay, so a lot of these are like kids shows that have stood the test of time, I guess. Okay. And then, I guess Seinfeld, Saved by the Bell, and Major Dad, these all count as like family shows that I guess stood the test of time. 5 came back, the reference films. These are, if you look into that, it's a bit of an outlier in that it's a recent documentary about these propaganda films that were released in 1945, okay, after these directors returned from World War II. And so they have the reference films that the 5 Came Back documentary makes reference to. So it's like it's a documentary about films, and so they release both the documentary and the original films that they're referencing. And so that's kind of a weird thing. Not weird, but just a unique case there, okay? But, part of our data. All right. The other aspect, I'm going to forget. Let me give you your first view quiz answer. First view quiz answer today is B. B as in bear. B as in bear. Okay, so one aspect of this data that is challenging to work with is this genre column, because we might want to do something like, okay, how many comedy movies are there? How many romance movies are there? How many dramas are out there? But the way this column is that it's not just one genre, right? So, and that makes sense because movies can kind of fit different things, right? So, you have movies that are romances and comedies. You have movies that are dramas and action films and things like, oh, I clicked something here. How do we, so they have basically a little list within the genre column. And so for us to kind of deal with this, what we want to do is we want to create additional columns. And the way I'm going to handle this is I'm going to create a column that says, is it a drama? Yes or no. Is it a crime film? Yes or no. And we're going to have true and false values. Okay. Some of your data sets have already taken these kind of complex variables. So again, meeting with the different groups. Some of your data sets have already taken these complex variables where there's like multiple, basically, if you imagine filling out a form, there's like a checkbox, like different checkboxes, and you can say, yes, this film is drama. It hits the checkbox for drama and action and thriller, and you check those off, and so it fills this out. But yeah, you have a column for, is it a drama? Is it a thing like that? So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use R's function string detect, okay? And all we're going to do is if we detect the word comedy, and this is case sensitive, so we want to, everything is lowercase and things like that, so we want to just say, okay, if you see the word comedy in there, mutate a new variable, and we're going to call that is_comedy, and that will be true or false. Is it a drama? Is it an animation? And basically, we're going to do this, and so I'm going to just add a whole bunch of these columns here. And so just to kind of make sure everything works out, what we're expecting is I'm adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns. So right now in my environment, it says 5,850 observations, 15 variables. After I run this, I'm expecting to see 25 variables, and it does look like that. And then it's always a good idea to just kind of check. So I can do titles view, or I can just kind of click this, and let me just shrink some of these columns here. Oh dear. Okay, something happened. All right, let me just click this again. It just doesn't like it. Okay, so what we want to see is, okay, so this movie right here, drama, crime, we want to see false for all of these columns, and we see true for drama, true for crime, and false for everything else. So that seems correct. Okay, and then just kind of going back, let's see. This row should be okay. So if I'm looking at this row, we should see history, document, and false for everything else. So we'll go back and history, documentation, European. I guess that's not a genre that I bothered creating a column for. I guess, if I wanted to, I could do that. But anyway, so it seems like it's working. It's always a good idea. I can't stress this enough. If you mutate a new column into your data, view it and make sure you are getting the values you are expecting. Okay? And sometimes it will reveal issues. Like when you mutate the column and you look at it, you might see you're getting the same number for every single row. And you're like, uh-oh, that's not what I wanted, right? I wanted this row to have a different value from this row. And so when you view it, those kinds of issues are brought forward, okay? And we see, yeah, we're not getting the same value. Is drama is true for some and false for some others. So, that's a good sign that we're not getting the exact same value for all of the rows. Okay, so anyway, that's what we have. And so now that I have these columns that have true and false values, I can start doing work with them. I can start counting them up, okay? Because it would have been a lot harder to try to count up how many comedy movies I have, using just that text column. So here I can say, hey, how many comedy movies do I have? So we're going to just take all of our, all the rows that we have, and we're going to just take is comedy, and remember that's true or false. When you call sum on a column of true and false values, trues are treated as ones and false treated as zeros. So you're just going to get this, how many true values there are. And so I can run this. And it says, yeah, you have 2,325 movies that are comedies, 2,968 movies that are dramas, okay? And so you know what? There's a whole bunch of these columns that we want to do. And so I could just go through every single one, and I can do comedy count, drama count, animation count, family count, things like that. But remember, the way I named all of my columns is comedy, is drama, is animation, is family. So it's helpful if you stay consistent in your naming, because later on you can use functions like, hey, summarize, and I want you to do, for all of the columns that start with is, run a sum, and we're going to do across. And we can say, hey, do this for all of them. And so I do titles, summarize across this, and it goes through all of the columns, is comedy, is drama, is animation, is family, and it gives me the sum there, okay? For all of the, let me just make this a little bit wider just so I can fit all the columns. Okay, so we get it all in there. Comedy, dramas, animation, family, action, horror, sci-fi, crime, history, documentaries. Okay, so we have that. Here I could say, okay, can we compare movies and shows and their genres? Okay, do we have more comedy movies or comedy shows? What about animated movies versus animated shows and things like that? So we can take all of our titles, we'll group it by type, which is going to be the movie or the show, and then again we'll summarize across all the columns that start with is. Okay, and so this gives us kind of the breakdown, and so we can see, the 2,325 comedy titles in Netflix, 1,500 of them are movies and 700 are shows. Okay. For the dramas, you have around 1,800 versus 1,000, 1,100-ish. Okay, animation has kind of the reverse thing, where you actually have fewer animation movies and more animated shows. Okay, and maybe that aligns with our experience as well, as far as animated movies are generally expensive productions, but there's a lot of low production quality animated TV shows out there. So you have stuff like that. Okay, family things are. Anyway, this again reflects the Netflix catalog as well. A lot of more sci-fi shows than movies, stuff like that. Okay, so that is so that's that. And then another thing I wanted to explore was, are there certain kind of genre combinations, right? Like family comedies or action comedies. Are there history comedies or crime comedies, things like that? Certain genres, certain genre combinations. I didn't do is romance here, but romance comedies are, very common things. Crime dramas are probably a common genre combination. I think one of the genres is war, and history war is another type of thing, and animation and family might go together, things like that, right? So here, one thing I can do is I can just say, okay, well, let's look at just the rows where they are comedies. So we're going to do filter is comedy is true. And then we will do the same thing where we're going to just summarize all of these different genres. Okay, so for all of this is there's 2,325 comedy movies. Okay, so of course all 2,325 will be true for is comedy, but then we have a bunch of kind of combinations. So there's actually quite a few drama comedies. Okay, quite a few animation. So 958 comedy dramas, I guess. Not a very many, as one would expect. Not very many comedy histories. Okay, comedy histories, 26 of them. So I guess less than about 1% of comedy titles in Netflix are also comedy histories. And I don't know. Now I'm curious what those are. Filter is comedy is true, and what do we want? Filter is history is also true. And then let's select title. We don't even need to select. We'll just take a look at what it is. Okay, so the comedy. Let's do a view. Capital V view. The comedy histories. These are comedy histories. Drama, history, comedy. Drama, history, comedy. Comedy and history. Okay. Destiny. These are movies. Ip Man. I don't know. Is that really a comedy? Okay. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. All right. Norsemen. Yeah, that's a comedy. Comedy, I guess. Versailles, Mr. Peabody and Sherman Show, The Toys That Made Us, okay, Thieves of the Wood, 100 Days, My Prince, Rodney King, that's not a comedy, drama, crime, documentary, comedy, history, Okay, well, I don't know how I feel about some of these genre classifications, but that's a different thing, okay, but I guess these are the comedy. America, the motion picture. I guess that's going to count as history. This is like too many genres for one movie, but I guess this is what we have. But anyway, at least as far as our actions go, it is correct. I think that the feelings about this is, did somebody put the genre labels correctly? Or do I agree with the genre labels? And me personally, maybe not. But that doesn't matter. That's just kind of what we have. We have to just hope that overall the data labels are overall correct. Okay. So anyway, that was so. This is our comedy genre combinations. And what I might want to do is, I might want to consider this for different things. So I'm going to take the same thing and I'm going to pivot them, okay? So I'm going to take all of these columns and I'm going to pivot them, okay? So when I do this, let me just show you what I want to do. So here I'm doing what I have here, and then I'm going to just pivot them longer. And basically I'm just taking this and I'm just kind of transposing the values a little bit, okay? And here I'm going to rename this column count into count, basically comedy underscore count to say these are combinations with the comedy genre, okay? So the comedy genre combinations will be all of the different genres that are combined with comedy. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with drama. We're going to just filter to is drama is true. Okay, now here's one thing. I didn't write a note on this, but if you have a column that is just true and false, okay, you don't actually have to do is comedy equals true. You can just do is comedy, and basically only the rows that are true are going to get filtered. Okay, and the rows that are false will not, right? And this feels almost like English now, right? Filter to those that are comedies, right? Filter to is comedy, and that's going to be that, okay? So we've done that. I'm going to do the same thing, filter the ones that are drama, summarize across the columns that start with is, pivot those longer, okay? Pivot all the columns that start with is longer, and then rename it to the drama count. And then we'll also do this for the animation count and the family genres, okay? And I could do this more and more and more and more, okay? But now I have all of these different little tables. This is for combinations with animation. So as far as the animation movies go, we have a lot of comedy animations and a lot of family animations, which makes sense. Not a lot of animated history or animated documentaries. And again, I am curious what those are, but yeah, that's what we have. You know, with the drama category, yeah, lots of drama comedies or comedy dramas, drama action, drama crime, and that aligns with kind of like what we're seeing. You know, family dramas, some drama documentaries, not as many, okay? And, you know, family things, we have family comedies, family animation, family dramas. Not very many family horrors, not very many family crime or family history things, okay? And we might want to then kind of join all of these tables together. And so to join them, I'm going to run these join commands. So I'm going to take our comedy genre combinations and I'm going to left join them with the drama genre combinations, and we're going to join them by genre. And if I just did that, I would just take our two kind of columns there, and we're joining them by genre, and we get this. And I can do this for all of them. Okay, and so for all of our genre combinations, we have this. Okay, and then you know, now you can start doing some plots and whatnot. I think this is as far as I wrote in my script as far as different analyses go. But yeah, I think this is kind of neat as far as giving us strategies for dealing with, you know, data sets that, you know, at first glance are a bit complicated, right? Especially because we have so many text columns, and so you can deal with genres here. And then you can also, you know, in this case, you know, certain things you can do, you know, what are the age certifications? So I am curious if everything kind of makes sense. So if I just kind of take my titles and I filter to is family, and then I want to select age certification. Okay, and then we're gonna just let's table that, just see like how many of each rating we have. So we see for things that are family, we have 51G, 106 PG, 23 PG-13, 1R, that's interesting, okay. TV 14, TVG a lot, TVY, TVY7, TV PG, that makes sense. Okay, so there are a few things that are classified as family that are TV MA and R. I am curious about those now. So maybe I'll do filter age certification equals R. And I'm just curious, there's one here. So let's take a look at that. Oops. Oh, I have to do parentheses R, okay. That is the movie DHH, Convinced Only a Miracle Can Save Them from Failing School. Drama, family, oh, production countries, India, I think, IN. DHH, I'm just curious now. So, you know, anytime you find something that feels strange, I recommend you look it up, okay? So let me go do DHH movie. This is a film, family drama, rated R, indeed, okay. Why is it rated R? Children's film, DHH, reception. That is weird. The picture sure looks like it's a family movie. Why is the rating R? I don't know. Okay. Maybe it shouldn't be rated R, but okay. But yeah, that is indeed what we have. Okay. Age certification. What was the other ones? We had 7 that are TVMA. Okay. Yeah, so the issue, I think something gets lost when they come from a foreign country. Okay, so KR, is that Korea? Okay, CO, I don't know, what country is that? MX for Mexico, France, TW, Taiwan, I think. Okay, another Miss O, the Queen of Flow, Diablero, family business, something, my liberation notes, and rebelled it. Okay, so, oh, too much. Okay, but yeah, these are rated TVMA. Somehow they're classified as family. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it does seem like maybe because they weren't produced in the US, like rating categories or something. And so I think these are like interesting, right? I think some of the most interesting things in our data are when you kind of drill down and you say, oh yeah, this is slightly unusual. Like, why would I have under family genre, why am I getting an R or an MA? And then you kind of investigate those things. So that's what I recommend. Okay, how many have I given you? Just one? Okay, so I need to give you 2 more. All right, so our last 2 answers today are E as in elephant for our second answer, and D as in dog for our third answer. Okay, and then I have to go back and fix everybody's grade from the other one that I messed up, so I apologize. But that's what we have there. Okay, so just some examples of analysis here, and I hope that gives you some ideas, and good luck as you start working on your projects. All right, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.